America's only true sports car. European road racing had proved that a true sports car is a very specialized vehicle. It puts a greater premium on handling and maneuverability than on speed alone. It emphasizes cornering, steering, and road holding. And it calls for something special from its drivers, a sense of challenge, a love of precision, a respect for power. American recognition of these and other requirements was reflected in the 1953 Corvette. It was continued with year-to-year styling and engineering refinements during the following 9 years, as Corvette proved itself not only as a quality sports car, but as a competition car too. These basic ideas in sports car going, this same drive to improve through experience, have been brought to the here and now in the dramatic, exciting 1963 Corvette Stingray. The idea of the new Corvette Stingray was conceived at the General Motors Technical Center, where designers and engineers were given free rein to develop a distinctly different kind of sports car from the ground up. Once overall design requirements for a convertible and a sports coupe were established, and major components had been built and pre-tested, the next major step was the construction of pre-production prototype models to check out design and engineering details of the finished cars. Beginning with a one-piece underbody, the first handmade prototype, a sports coupe, takes shape and form on a perfectly level surface plate in the fiberglass body shop. For this new fastback model, the passenger compartment is completely framed in a steel network that in non-technical language is known as the birdcage. It isn't long before the surface plate is filled with clamps and fixtures as additional body sections are assembled like a giant jigsaw puzzle. Each new section is carefully fitted into place, then prepared for bonding to adjacent panels. All of the pieces that make a complete prototype body, including this rear quarter panel, are formed in plaster molds that are hand cast from wood patterns. After the molds are treated with a coat of resin, fiberglass cloth is carefully hand fitted to their contours, then coated with more resin. When the plastic material has set and been trimmed, the panel is taken out of the mold and fitted into a sub-assembly consisting of the roof and the opposite rear quarter panel. A rear end panel across the back completes the four-piece sub-assembly. Fiberglass reinforcing strips are then bonded along all seams for added strength and rigidity. With the roof and rear fender assembly now joined into a single unit, the entire piece is lifted out of its special fixture and bonded directly to the underbody and birdcage. The birdcage is designed to provide steel support for the fiberglass roof section in the passenger area of the fastback model. This marriage of steel and fiberglass also results in a stronger body with increased torsional rigidity. While each piece of the prototype body, including front fender panels, is carefully and accurately joined on the surface plate in the fiberglass body shop, a prototype frame for the new sports car takes shape on another surface plate in the experimental frame shop. The shorter frame for the 98-inch wheelbase car is entirely new, a rigid perimeter unit with 5 cross members. The all-welded steel structure formed by these members results in greater torsional stiffness, while closed side members outline the entire passenger compartment. Sports car design requirements are also evident in the rear sub-assembly of the frame, where twin exhaust pipes will pass not under, but through the intermediate cross member. As the frame continues taking shape, constant checks against engineering and production standards are made. Then, the two sub-assemblies are welded together, and the completed frame is moved into the paint shop for final finishing. Soon afterward, frame and body are ready to be joined temporarily to check fit, accuracy, and alignment, and to transport the body to the paint shop. The clutter of fixtures surrounding the fiberglass body is removed, revealing a distinctly different sports car look. The hood line is long, low, and tapered. Later, retractable headlights will be installed to complete the smooth, sweeping effect. The body is also significantly lower and more compact than in previous years, yet some interior dimensions have actually been increased. And for easy entry and exit, door openings wrap right into the roof panel. Providing a complete set of handmade trim for the prototype interior is the responsibility of the engineering trim shop. Here, as elsewhere during the construction of prototype models, highly specialized skills are called for. This handcrafted pre-production seat, for example, is designed to combine a deeper bucket with more wraparound support in the back section. Objective, increased driving and riding comfort. Because beauty is important too, standard seats are covered with pleated leather grain vinyl. For a plush touch, genuine leather seat trim is optional. Every part on a pre-production car calls for specialized attention. Someone to design it and someone to make it. Prototype body hardware, for instance, is die cast one piece at a time in the engineering foundry. But the precision molds are made from wood models, and the hand-carved wood models are made from blueprints. And the blueprints are based on sketches drawn by stylists. The end result of this long chain of skills can be something as large as a complete fiberglass body or as small as a zinc nameplate. Then, when every component has passed through testing, manufacturing, and finishing steps, final assembly of the prototype car gets underway. Assembly proceeds from the ground up, starting with the prototype frame and a completely new rear suspension system. First, to decrease the unsprung weight of the car and thereby produce true sports car ride and road handling, a rubber isolated differential is bolted to the frame. Additional stability is provided by a unique 3-link suspension unit attached at each rear wheel. One link absorbs acceleration and braking forces, another controls forces set up by twists and turns. And a separate axle shaft with double universal joints forms the 3rd link in each rear suspension unit. The shaft transmits some of the lateral forces created in turns to the fixed differential, which in turn channels them to the sprung weight of the frame. The net result of this entirely new unit is a fully independent rear suspension system for greater control on starts, stops, and turns on the highway and in competitive driving. A transverse multi-leaf spring is also part of the rear suspension system, but is designed to handle vertical forces only. Full 4-wheel independent suspension is achieved with the introduction of a new coil spring design for the front wheels. Steering is also improved and allows quick changes from standard steering ratios to a faster ratio for competitive requirements by repositioning the tie rods. Steering, handling, and traction are improved too, because unlike most front-engine cars, the Corvette carries over 50% of its weight on the rear wheels. Now the fiberglass body, which has been sprayed with an experimental metallic color, is lowered on the chassis and bolted down to 8 body mounts. Alignment of the wrap-over doors is checked. The ends of the transverse multi-leaf spring are bolted in place. And the final assembly of the interior and exterior of the car now becomes a matter of nuts and bolts, plus several hundred other parts. Each has its own production number, which has been carefully recorded in the parts catalog for the prototype car. Whether big or small, whether a production part or a handmade piece, every component has been requisitioned and is on hand when required. With the prototype rapidly reaching its completion and evaluation date, skilled assemblers work round the clock to meet predetermined build schedules. Soon, the prototype interior is completed, down to the very last screw and washer. Rapid progress is also made in the outside appearance of the car, which takes on a distinctive look and personality all its own. Electrically rotated headlights, for example, are a key design feature of the prototype. The lights are operated from inside the car by two controls. One reveals and retracts the twin units. The other turns the lights on and off. With the lights in their concealed position, front-end styling has a smooth aerodynamic flow. At the rear of the car, the gas filler tube cover for the standard 20-gallon tank or optional 36-gallon tank is attached. Later, the distinctive Corvette emblem will add a styling highlight to the cover. Finally, the spare wheel is raised into a concealed well beneath the gasoline tank. A major checkpoint has now been reached. For the prototype sports car, after nearly 2 years of planning, designing, and pre-testing, and the individual efforts of hundreds of people, is a completed reality. It moves now to the test car garage, where final changes will be made in paint, parts, and engineering specifications before final evaluation of a convertible and a sports coupe begins at the General Motors Proving Ground. Here, a group of Chevrolet research and development engineers and Zora Arkastuntov, staff engineer in charge of high-performance vehicles, are joined by two well-known Corvette drivers, Dr. Dick Thompson and Dave McDonald. Their purpose? To evaluate a Stingray convertible and a Stingray fastback. Two prototypes which reflect a full decade of sports car experience by stylists, engineers, research and testing personnel, production experts, and individual craftsmen of 100 different skills. Yes, it takes people with know-how, plus a nationwide network of manufacturing facilities to produce a distinctively different car, a car worthy of its sports car designation. Nothing illustrates all of this better than the sight and sound of the new Corvette itself. So watch and listen to this new and dramatic idea in sports car going.
excitement. All right. Let's stop being excited. Tell me your general feel.
It was a great improvement over the 62.
Sure, quite a car we got this time.
You've had power for some time, but now you've got the other finer points to go with it.
Dick, tell me, what do you think about acceleration and traction?
It was very difficult to actually spin the wheels starting off. I think this will be important not only to Dave and myself under racing conditions, but to the average public driving on the highway. The average person accelerating off, say in slippery weather even, or on dry pavement, will have the car much more under control.
Dave, what do you think of inside of the car?
Well, the dash arrangement this year is one thing I noticed right away, and the way the instruments are arranged this year, it's awful easy to pick out what you're looking for, whether it's the speedometer, the tach, or the oil pressure, or something like that.
Tell me, Dick, how do you feel about the driving position, pedal arrangement, all the interior?
It was very comfortable, Zora. I have a particular problem with my legs clearing under the steering wheel, and in this particular car, why they clear the steering wheel very nicely. We were very happy with it. Weren't you happy, Dave?
Sure was, and it not only looks like a dream car, it even handles like one. At any speed, it's beautiful.
Yes, the 1963 Corvette Stingray is the sports car with a European heritage, but an American biography. A biography that summarizes a decade of outstanding achievement in design, performance, and engineering by Corvette, America's sports car.